Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining. We just got done with our visit to Super Nintendo World over at Universal's Epic Universe. Great place. This is actually our first, I think, Universal park at all. My wife and I's and my son's, of course, this is his first trip to Orlando. But this park, Universal's Epic Universe, opened, actually Super Nintendo World opened in the whole park May 22nd this year, 2025. Inside Universal Epic's universe in Orlando. This is a multi-level Mushroom Kingdom plus Donkey Kong Country. They have a lot of interactive elements to it, punchable question blocks, spinning coins, Goombas, Piranha Plants, iconic Nintendo music everywhere. They are, you feel like you're in a video game, we'll put it that way. They have a few of the main rides, Mario Kart, Bowser's Challenge, is kind of like a virtual reality ride and race. 40 inches, I think, was the minimum height restriction. And then they had Yoshi's Adventure, just a gentle omni-mover type ride, no height minimum on that. And then the Minecart Madness over at Donkey Kong was more of a traditional roller coaster, and that was a 42-inch minimum height restriction. So they have power-up bands for, I think they're under $50, maybe like $48, but they track your coins, your stamps that you earn via the app. There's 5 key mini games that you play to be able to get your opportunity to go over to Bowser Jr. Battle. I'll get to that here in a little bit. And then they have hidden 8-bit character cameos over at Donkey Kong Country. They have some barrel slots and bongo drums, things that are interactive, and you play with your power-up bands. For food, they've got Toadstool Cafe, some different pretty cool themed food. I'll get to that here shortly as well. But Yoshi Snack Island, and then over at the Donkey Kong Country, they had a bubbly barrel area with some snacks and drinks. I guess they do have early park admission if you're a hotel guest here. We weren't staying there. We were obviously we were staying in an RV. And they have, we did notice they had a handful of different water stations. You could fill up your water bottles. And that was kind of a big point because when we were doing some of the Disney parks, they were advertised, but they were really kind of hard to find. And they weren't on the main pass. So these seem to be pretty obvious at the restrooms. But our adventure here at Super Nintendo World, we arrived by car. We didn't stay at a Universal Resort. So we had to pay $30 in parking. And I did, not where we parked, but closer up to the park, they did have some prime position parking. I'm not sure if they pay extra to their members, and they had a whole bunch of EV chargers too that people were using, which was neat. We weren't so lucky. We didn't need to charge, but we didn't have access to that. But like as I mentioned, we've never been to a Universal park at all, and this place was awesome. Very nice. Overall, this was a much more grand experience than I was expecting. This whole well, I'll get into this. This whole thing is brand new too, but we got our power-up bands knowing that we were going to go spend most of our time, all of our time in Super Nintendo World. And even before entering the park, they had a little shop outside. So we were able to get them. I would recommend that you can buy them inside Super Nintendo World, but by the time you get to one of those shops, you're going to pass a handful of different opportunities to use your power-up band. So we got them before we entered the gates, which was helpful. And we had, my son wanted the Luigi band, of course. I went with Mario. My wife went with the Toad band. I think my son dictated those character purchases, but they were fine. No batteries. These aren't the same as the Magic Plus bands at Disney. You don't nothing to charge. It just is scanned by these different readers when you spend some time in the park, and I'll show you some of that. But overall, so this is called Universal's Epic Universe. It is Universal's 4th park. This whole thing opened the same day as Super Nintendo World, May 22nd of this year, 2025. And it's the largest U.S. Universal park. It's 750 acres overall with all the different worlds. So there's 5 worlds total. One of them is included. It's called the Celestial Park Hub that you kind of walk into, and it splits up into the others. And then they have the Super Nintendo World, of course. They have one called Wizarding World, Ministry of Magic. That's where some of the Harry Potter and things are going on. I think they have a Paris ride in there. They have a whole How to Train Your Dragon world, and one that's Dark Universe with Frankenstein's monster and some of that stuff world as well. I think there's Tickets, I don't really, somewhere around 140 bucks, I think, per person. And then they had some express tickets that are going to be more than that. And I think you got a discount if you were staying at they had a huge new hotel right overlooking Celestial Park. It looked really, really cool. And I'm assuming there's some discounts if you're staying there and getting into the park. But we went straight to Super Nintendo World, as my son wouldn't have any other different. We go through a green warp pipe, really cool effects. They have like this screen that surrounds you, and it's changing colors, and there's music playing, and iconic Nintendo music, Super Mario Brothers music, kind of everywhere. And you walk out into the park, and it looks really cool. As the walls are, you'll see, they're all built up, and you don't see anything beyond Super Nintendo World. Even though there's all these worlds around, they did a really good job that you kind of feel like you're down in it, and everything you see outside of the park is just sky, which helps fit that iconic look in the video game. So it's just a blue sky, or at night it's just dark. Actually, so much as I saw a video on this place doing some research before we went, and it almost appeared as if it was a dome because of the coloring of the sky was so perfect, but it's just how it's built up. It's outside, and there are places for shade, but there's a lot of sun that gets in, of course. So prepare accordingly. They have sounds everywhere, maybe a little too loud, I would say, but they're pumping in sounds from the video games everywhere, and it's cranked up a little bit, but the kids loved it. Then you have a phone app you can download to keep track. It's linked to your power-up bands, but it lets you keep track of your coins and your stamps, your trophies earned. It's really neat for kids. My son wanted to keep checking it. He loves the data and seeing what trophies he's earned. And I mentioned earlier the question box. They had these things everywhere, and you go around and you whack them with the hand that you use in your power band. A lot of people were hitting it with the power band. You don't actually have to do that. You just need it to be close. So they recommend using that hand to hit the block with, and you get so many coins until they're gone. And they had some different blocks, but very interactive. That's one of the reasons my son loves this place, is there was something to do everywhere. Every corner you turned, there was something to do. They had those hidden 8-bit stamps in the walls, which were cool. When you go up and scan your band, and that would all be added to your account and tracked under the app. And the app stays, if you go back another day, you can just add to it and try to get them all. Some of them are seasonal, so like Christmas things and stamps that you can earn during that time of the year. So obviously they want you coming back more than once to get them all. They also had hidden Pikmin little mini figure statues around the park, which was cool. Pikmin being another franchise of Nintendo than Super Mario Brothers, but I think it was the only game outside of Mario Brothers that we saw other characters. But they were small, but my son enjoyed picking them up, or photographing them, or getting them on video, or identifying them, because he loves Pikmin games too. And then they do have Luigi and Mario characters were on site down in the very lower level. Throughout the day, we saw them a few different times, but we could just never get the time right, or get a photo and meet and greet. They had, I think they came out for 15-minute sessions maybe, but it almost appeared that they closed the line as soon as they came out, or they just didn't have enough time to get to everybody. So we lucked out. My son's a little bummed, and actually he just told me today that he can't wait to go back so he can meet them and get his photo done. But one of the first rides we jumped on was Yoshi's Adventure. It's a slow moving ride, good for, I would say, very young kids. It takes you around the top of the park, provides you a pretty good view of the Mushroom Kingdom. Very simple ride, nothing special. It is a little bit interactive with identifying some of the Yoshi eggs. And they had different spots up high where they had these digital lookout binoculars, which were cool. They let you see the park as normal. You would scan around, but then they also provided like an additional digital character on top that you could zoom in on, and it would be some type of creature from the Super Nintendo world jumping around or doing something. You could identify them, which was neat. And then probably the favorite, well, I don't know if this was our favorite or not. Probably one of the most popular rides was the Mario Kart ride over at Bowser's Castle. this was very impressive in terms of the build-up. When you entered into the castle, the construction and the line waiting area was awesome. And they had, before you would get to the ride, you were in different parts of Bowser's castle, like the library and different things. It was really neat. And then before you got on the ride, they would give you an adjustable visor that you wear, and it works with the lenses that are hooked up in the cars when you get into them. So there's like a little screen that you would pop into your visor, and then you'd return the visor after the ride, and the screen stayed connected to the car. But on the ride, there's I think 4 of us in a car at 2 different levels. Everyone has a steering wheel with buttons, and you shoot the turtle shells just like you're in Mario Kart at the other racers, and the different items kind of interacting with you around the car. And wherever you look with your screen, this is kind of where you would shoot, and would bring up some different images and add them superimposed over top of. And they had some real stuff going on in the background, but then a lot of the digital stuff laid over top to make it unique. And they had a little small area, practice area before the race got started, that you could practice your shooting to get that dialed in. There's also was like wind involved, and I think they had some heat sections to kind of make it more involved or immersive. My son loved it. It was his favorite ride up to that point for sure. And then on the way out, they have a store, of course, get you to buy some stuff from the Mario Kart ride. My son, Bowser Jr. t-shirt and a Bowser Jr. stuffy, and he was good to go with that for now. And then we want to do lunch. Toadstool Cafe is where we ate. This is pretty fun. It's kind of like in a whole experience. When we had gone, it was probably between lunch and dinner, so we were able to get right in. But they had a waiting area, and it was kind of interactive with some the menu items. But my son knew this place and had this marked. He's been talking about wanting to go to Toadstool Cafe for a while. We got in, like I said, right away. They have screens all around the inside that are interactive, like you're in a Toad Village, and they're cooking the food and working, and every so often they would be attacked by Bowser's ship, and then it would get dark and the music would change, but it was something cool to entertain people. But the service was fast. Their menu is all on theme items. It's pretty cool, but the food was good. They make it quick, kind of a short order cook kind of a thing, or they have a lot of stuff prepared in advance, I'm guessing. But we were able to try a few of the different items and desserts. And my son, yeah, he loved it. He wants to go back for sure. And different so I mentioned this earlier, they have different mini games linked to our power-up bands as well. Just like the video game, you're doing different things and screens and touching, and you have different challenges to pass to be able to gain access to other events later on in the day. You can check your stats on the phone app, but they also have boards around the park where you would go scan your power-up band, and it would pull all your information up too. So if you didn't want to use the phone app, or you just want to see on a bigger screen, there was options for that, and bring up all your statistics. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Bowser Jr. Shadow Showdown was the one you had to earn enough points and trophies and stamps to be able to get this unlocked, and you could enter this experience. But it was pretty cool. You were standing up, and after the waiting area, they had a little spot, kind of interactive, but then the experience itself, you stand up at the front when your shadow's casted, or some type of projection of your shadow is casted on the screen, and then they would have things falling from the sky and bullet bills flying by, and you'd have to duck and then punch them up, but your physical shadow was doing the work, which is cool. And it was a very popular ride. There was like 12 of us or so at once that were fighting against Bowser Jr. And yeah, it was unique tech, but it was fun. It was definitely a different experience. And then they also have, to the rear, they have this whole other area called Donkey Kong Country. It's a jungle extension of Super Nintendo World. They call it the Golden Temple and Waterfalls and Barrels. They have that ride, the Minecart Madness, which is a boom coaster with a 40-inch minimum height restriction. And you can use the power-up bands here, of course, too, with the barrel slots, the bongos. You get Kong, K-O-N-G in letters, and you collect those with coins and stamps. So we were make sure we did that. And they've got the bubbly barrel, as I mentioned earlier. They've got a Donkey Kong Crush float that they sell in a big barrel mug that was pretty popular. And I guess you can see Donkey Kong at the treehouse from time to time. We didn't have any luck with that, unfortunately. But I guess he's walking around sometimes for meet and greets. And then, but pretty cool transition. So you're coming through a tunnel, and the scenery changes, and that you're all of a sudden in the jungle. The music changes, and it's like drums and beats and everything playing. It's like you're in a whole different park. It's not quite as big as the Super Nintendo. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know exactly. It's a little bit smaller, but it is a whole separate deal. And you got the cool mini games there. And yeah, we checked it out originally and went over to the roller coaster ride, and it was a really long wait. This was definitely the most popular ride in this Super Nintendo world. So we were going to come back later as we plan to close the park. And Celestial Park is out in the middle. It's like the hub. But we were briefly able to get my son to leave Nintendo World, only by, I think, promising we would track down some ice cream. So he agreed. And I wanted to see the other parks. But all he really let me do was just do a walk around Celestial Park, and then we headed right back into Super Nintendo World, back through the warp pipe. And it was cool though, because the sun was setting, so we got to see it at night. And you know, not to preach this again, I think I've talked about this in all the videos, but these parks are so much different at night with all the lighting. I'm such a strong proponent of trying to see these parks both in the daytime, just setting up and then seeing them in the evening. But this place was no exception. The lighting was awesome at Super Nintendo World, but also over at Donkey Kong Country. So we went straight back to Donkey Kong Country to try to get on this Minecart Madness roller coaster. It was pretty cool. They had different spots, and this was the longest line. Different spots. I think you could scan your power-up bands and it would be interactive, or you get a stamp, and they had some kind of Pikmin sounds playing off of it and lighting up on the ceiling, and bananas and stuff appearing. It was cool, but the kids and the people who had the power-up bands were taking advantage of that. And this ride had it was long lines all day, so we knew we were going to be waiting. I think the app and the ticker at the entrance had it listed at an hour and a half, but it ended up taking a little bit longer. I think 2 hours and 15 minutes total. They kept having some technical difficulties, and they had to put another cart on, and then they had a technical difficulty, and some people were leaving the lines. We were kind of pot committed at that point, and you know, I'd spent most of the evening trying to get on this ride, and so we stuck it out in about 2 hours and 15 minutes, almost on the button. But the ride was pretty short. It was a pretty fast ride, I guess, in comparison. But my son still talks about it today, so I guess it was worth the wait, 2 hours and 15 minutes. They did have some stuff going on to entertain you with a couple animatronics and different things at different parts. But it was a decent wait. So then we head out of Super Nintendo World at close. In the night, they do an Epic Universe Light and Water show. I think it's over at the nighttime fountain show at was it Cosmos Lagoon in Celestial Park. It's about a 10 to 15 minute water, light, lasers, projections. And they do 5 world music, different elements. They have like tall jets shooting water, but it's pretty cool. They say the lagoon front is kind of the best place to see it. We didn't realize actually we were really planning on seeing this. We were on our way walking out, and were able to catch it from close to the entrance and the exit. So it wasn't the best view to where we're at, and that's some of the footage I have, but all the lights are reacting throughout the whole park together, with this place being pretty new. Everything's linked up, which was fun. Yeah, overall, I think we really only saw Super Nintendo World here. It was awesome. But I would like to go back and see some of the other worlds if I'm allowed. Or I think my son said we'll go back, but I can go see whatever world I want. He's going to stay in Super Nintendo World. I didn't think Universal, and this is Epic Universe, this is a specific park, I didn't expect it to be so large, immersive, and it was a big setup. And I guess they're doing a pretty good job competing with the Disney parks for sure. But up next, we head out of Orlando area and we head to Jetty Park. At the port over in Cape Canaveral, we get to see a SpaceX launch, and countless cruise ships come by the port just mere yards from where we're staying in our campground. Beautiful beach too, just steps away right through the gate, and definitely recommend this place. But this will be a good video. I've got a lot of footage to throw together, and I'll get that out as soon as I can. If you're still with me, I appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.